and welcome to Firstpost Spotlight, where we bring you stories that matter to you from all across the world. From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, we shed light on issues that shape our world. I'm Alison Lagrange, live from Durban, South Africa. Let's begin with the top headlines. A Chinese-origin Bangladeshi Air Force F-7 training jet crashes into a college in Dhaka. At least 19 killed and several others injured. Israel strikes Yemen's Hodeidah port in its latest attack on the Houthis. The Iran-backed group confirms a dock has been destroyed. Iran blames European powers for the failure of the 2015 nuclear deal, accusing them of breaking their commitments ahead of renewed talks in Istanbul with Britain, France and Germany. India's Bombay High Court acquits all 12 men previously convicted for the 2006 Mumbai train blasts that killed 189 people, citing unreliable witness testimonies and serious procedural lapses. And the International Cricket Council pledges more support to Afghanistan's displaced women cricketers, who remain in exile since 2021. When the Taliban regained power and effectively outlawed women from playing sport. Hello and welcome. We begin with the latest from Japan, where in a stunning political shakeup, Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba's coalition has lost its majority in the upper house of parliament. And now, after a humbling election result, the party of late former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe finds itself in a fragile minority. But amid the collapse of the old guard, a new force is rising. Enter the far-right Sansei party, led by Sohei Kamiya. Once dismissed as a conspiracy-tinged sideshow, Sansei has gained 14 seats in the upper house, tripling its representation and marking its sharpest break into mainstream politics yet. The performance has surprised the party itself. As votes were being counted, its leaders were upbeat, saying they did not expect this much support.
Winning 20 seats might be difficult, but it is looking like we can clear our initial target, 6 seats. To be honest, I did not expect this much support.
Born on YouTube during the pandemic, peddling anti-vaccine rhetoric and conspiracy theories of globalist control, the far-right party's Japanese First campaign struck a deep chord with the disillusioned voters. The party's message has remained clear. Immigration is a threat to Japan. And to counter that threat, Japan must stand alone. Sansei Ito's nationalistic platform, fused with promises of tax cuts and welfare reform, proved a lucrative offer to many frustrated by stagnant wages and soaring rice prices. And while other parties talked economics, Sansei Ito hit the emotional nerve, asking Japanese people to vote on the question of identity. With foreign-born residents now hitting record numbers, many voters found appeal in this party's message.
I am attending graduate school, but there are no Japanese around me, and all of them are foreigners. When I look at the way compensation and money is spent on foreigners, I think that Japanese people are a bit disrespected. I want the money to be used by the government in a more correct way, so I pay attention to the policies regarding foreigners.
And if Sansei Ito's message sounds familiar, that's because it is. Their campaign, from style to substance, echoes the U.S. President Donald Trump's playbook. Like Trump, Sansei Ito blames global elites for supposed national decline. He questions science when it's inconvenient and warns of a silent invasion, not from tanks or bombs, but from immigrants. Kamiya's rhetoric on immigration mirrors Trump's call for walls, bans, and national rebirth. Even economically, there are alignments. The promise of tax cuts, big spending for quote-unquote the people, and an anti-decarbonization stance that mocks climate policies. And then there's the internet. Trump and his MAGA movement had Twitter at the inception of his presidency in 2016. Sancito was born on YouTube, both mastered outsider politics in a digital age, and broke into the mainstream through anger, algorithms, and alternatives. So is this Trumpism in Japan, or something even more tailored to a country where political consensus has long meant stability? As the world grapples with a fresh wave of populism, is Japan now its next test case? The Philippines President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. is in Washington, and this time it isn't just about photo ops. Marcos landed in Washington early on Monday. He is set to meet US President Donald Trump this week. Joining him, top cabinet members from Foreign Affairs, Defense, and Trade. It's his fifth visit to the US in just 3 years, and his first formal visit to the country under the Trump administration. Why does this matter? Because the stakes have never been higher. This isn't just diplomacy. This is security check, an economic lifeline, and geopolitical signal. According to reports, the Philippines president will meet with Trump on the 22nd of July, and before that, he is set to meet with the U.S. Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. His visit will focus on strengthening the Philippines' oldest alliance with the United States. In the words of Philippine Ambassador Jose Manuel Romualdez, and I quote, "Sensitive matters will likely be discussed. It is being reported that tariffs and security are among the top issues on the agenda." Let's start with security. Tensions in the South China Sea are boiling. Chinese vessels are becoming aggressive. They have clashed with Philippines boats again and again. And what's Marcos doing? Doubling down on the US alliance. Under Marcos, Manila has opened more military bases to American troops. They have ramped up joint patrols. The US is building naval repair facilities in Palawan, the island closest to the Chinese claimed waters. Now, trade and tariffs have been an important talking point for Manila since Trump came to power. Earlier, a top diplomat said the issue of tariffs is important to the country and will be discussed when Marcos visits the US.
The issue of tariffs is an issue that will be discussed among others. So, because it's also very important to us, we have already sent negotiators to discuss this issue in just a month ago.
Trump wants reciprocity. He wants to slap a 20% tariff on Philippine imports, up from 17%. And Marcos wants to avoid that. Marcos, before embarking on his US visit, said his top priority during the visit would be to push for economic engagement. His visit comes just days before the August 1st deadline, when Trump's tariffs will kick in, and Marcos is likely to push for a bilateral trade pact to lock in benefits before it's too late. The Philippines Economic and Defense team flew in ahead of the president to negotiate. The Philippines wants preferential access. Trump wants reciprocity. The question is, can they meet halfway? There's another issue that's causing discomfort in Manila: Trump's decision to shut down U.S. aid. For decades, it funded education, disaster relief, and rural development in the Philippines. Now it's gone. The Trump-Marcos meeting, which is finally playing out, is a long drawn-out affair. Philippines Ambassador Romualdez has been keen on setting up a face-to-face meeting with the US president right after Trump took office. There was a supposed meeting in the spring, which did not happen. Then there was the headline-grabbing meeting between Trump and Zelensky in February, and Marcos had to wait. And now Marcos has finally landed in Washington, ready to unlock a new US-Philippine equation built on defense, trade, and trust. For Trump, it's about power projection. For Marcos, it's about survival. One brings tariffs to the table, the other an alliance that could shape the Indo-Pacific. And shifting focus to China, barely a week after hosting India's Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar, President Xi Jinping's government has kicked off a high-stakes project near the India border. Chinese Premier Li Qiang broke ground on a mega hydropower dam in Naingxi City, less than 100 kilometers from the border with India. Now being built on the river Brahmaputra, China claims the $167 billion dam will fulfill the electricity needs of over 300 million people. But who really wins? The dam is being built at a major gorge in the Himalayas where the river Brahmaputra makes a dramatic U-turn or a great bend before flowing into India and later into Bangladesh. Both nations, crucially, sit downstream, and the dam perilously close to the line of actual control. Experts say this isn't just hydropower, it's strategy. China could control the flow of water into India, release it, hold it, or use it, even with a potential threat of strategic flooding. A report by an Australian think tank notes that the dam may consolidate Beijing's political control over its distant borderlands, which in this case is Tibet, where China has long tried to repress a freedom movement. It may affect human settlement and economic patterns on the Indian side of the border downstream, and it would give Beijing water and data that it could withhold from India as bargaining leverage in unrelated negotiations. Apart from Beijing's murky geopolitical designs, this particular area is also earthquake-prone, and any potential disaster during or after construction may wreak havoc for millions of people living downstream in India as well as Bangladesh. India, as per a parliamentary response given earlier this year, maintains that it remains engaged with China on the issue of the transborder rivers to safeguard its interests. New Delhi has previously urged Beijing to ensure that its activities on the river Brahmaputra do not negatively affect the interests of downstream nations such as India. In response, Beijing suggested that its activities on Brahmaputra would not cause any negative impact. But Indian leaders have flagged Chinese dam building activities. Earlier this month, the Chief Minister of Arunachal Pradesh, the Indian state which borders China, called the Chinese dam project a ticking water bomb. He said it could endanger local tribes and livelihoods and may even be a bigger concern than the military threat, as China cannot be trusted and could weaponize the dam. But history serves as a lesson. While currently China has been sharing water data of River Brahmaputra with New Delhi, Beijing has withheld sharing this data on multiple occasions. India and China signed their first water data sharing agreement on Brahmaputra in 2002, which came into effect in 2003 for a 5-year period. The agreement was signed to reduce the risk of floods to civilian populations living downstream. The agreement was renewed in 2008, 2013, and 2018. Now, despite a formal pact in 2017 and again in 2020 when the ties soured between the two countries. And shifting focus to Indonesia, where terrifying moments from a ferry that caught fire were captured on camera. Now this is what panic looks like. Passengers screaming, sobbing, clutching life jackets to jump into the sea with flames rising behind them. A thick black cloud of smoke choking the sky and a burning ship drifting in open waters off Sulawesi, Indonesia. This was KM Barcelona 5. It was on a routine trip from the Melonguan port in Tulod Island to the Manado, the capital of North Sulawesi province. But somewhere in between, things went horribly wrong. A fire broke out, believed to have started on the upper deck. The passengers, jolted out of sleep, woke up to smoke and chaos. One survivor said that he floated for about an hour before being rescued. Over 500 people were on board, according to rescuers, but the ship's official log, it says 280 passengers and 15 crew. Now, local media reported that the ship had a capacity of 600 passengers. So what happened here? Indonesian authorities say that 568 people were rescued, and they previously reported 5 deaths, but later revised the death toll to 3 after 2 passengers initially reported dead were saved in a hospital. This includes a baby who was revived after seawater filled its lungs. Videos released by rescue teams show a Coast Guard ship dousing the ferry as black smoke pours from its deck. 6 rescue ships, 1 Coast Guard vessel, and multiple inflatable boats were involved in the rescue mission. The search is still on, and officials are keeping the rescue post open 24/7 in case families report missing persons. The exact cause behind the fire is unknown. Was it an electrical fault, a fuel leak, or was the vessel damaged due to the storm the previous day? To get answers, the Indonesian government has launched a full probe. They are looking at possible causes of the fire. For context, this isn't rare. Indonesia is made up of 17,000 islands. Marine travel is essential, and ferry disasters are common, mainly because safety standards are often ignored. Just weeks ago, a ferry capsized near Bali, killing 19 people. In March, another boat flipped, killing an Australian tourist. And in 2018, 150 people drowned in Lake Toba, one of the world's deepest lakes. The recent accident was not just fire. It was a warning, one that came with smoke and screams. Indonesia says it is investigating, but how many investigations end in silence? And how many tragedies are needed before change sets sail? And that's all we have for you on this broadcast. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to Firstpost.
From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, shedding light on the world's top headlines, detailed analysis on the stories that matter the most to you. Catch it all on Spotlight at 6 p.m. India time and 12:30 GMT, only on